name is Rachel, and today I'm bringing you a book haul. So, I've bought a ton more books since the last time I did a book haul, and when I got to thinking about how many I bought, I decided I needed to go ahead and haul them, A, before this got too long, and B, so I could go ahead and get them actually shelved on my shelf instead of stacked up over in the corner where I add them when I buy them. I'm super excited for all of them, so let's quickly jump into them. This first group is basically just some nonfiction that I picked up. I've heard great things about all of these, and I'm really excited to get into them. So first up, I have The Five. This is by Hallie Rubenhold, and this is The Untold Lives of the Women Killed by Jack the Ripper. My mom read this earlier this year, and she really enjoyed it, and I know at least a few people read it in the past year. I think somebody actually even read it for True Crime-a-thon last year and really liked it, so I'm excited to give it a read. Next up, I picked up Here for It, or How to Save Your Soul in America by R. Eric Thomas. I've seen the cover of this book for so long. I'm so excited to finally have it. This just sounds really fun and just like what we need right now, and I mean, that is one amazing cover. Next up, I bought Wow, No Thank You. These are essays by Samantha Irby. I have not yet read a Samantha Irby collection, but I've just heard rave things, and I'm super excited to get to it. And next up, I bought something that could be controversial in the midst of a pandemic, but I bought The Pandemic Century. This is 100 Years of Panic, Hysteria, and Hubris by Mark Honigsbaum, and this is just really what it says in the title, kind of a review of pandemics over the last century. I know that most people don't want to read about pandemics while we're in the midst of one. However, I read about pandemics all the time, so I could not help myself by picking this up now. An edition came out last year, probably, my guess is in hardback, but with this new edition that was just released, they have a concluding chapter that talks a little bit about how we got here with coronavirus. So I think that's going to be an interesting read. Next up are some fiction books that I have just heard recommended over and over and over again, and when I've seen these, when I've been out shopping, I just had to get them. And the first one is My Year of Rest and Relaxation. This is by Otessa Moshfegh. And I have heard really good things about this. What pulled me in initially last year was the cover. I mean, that's just a hilarious cover, but I've heard really, really good things about it, and I just couldn't resist it. Next up is The Wangs versus the World. This is by Jade Chang. I've heard terrific things about this book, and I saw it at Half Price Books and nabbed it. I think this cover is cuter than the hardback cover, but the hardback cover is gorgeous. So either way, I couldn't go wrong, and I'm excited to read it. I think it sounds really fun. Next up, I got Black Girl Unlimited. This is by Echo Brown. I've heard such awesome things about this book. I literally have not heard a negative review yet, and I'm just really excited about it. And this is just a gorgeous cover. I mean, the colors in this are just absolutely amazing, so I'm really excited to have it on my shelf so I can look at it, and I'm really excited to get a chance to read it. Next up is Bluebird by Attica Locke, and this is kind of a funny story. I listen to book podcasts, I'm sure you're shocked, and the ones I specifically like are usually by Book Riot, and I'll leave a link down to more information about Book Riot's podcast below, but there is one show that you can write into and make requests for books you should read. So I wrote in several months ago requesting books for my dad. He's a big Longmire fan, and I gave several other series that he likes, and this was the suggestion they gave for him to read. So I went out, got him a copy for Father's Day for this year, and then separately, months later, I wrote in asking specifically for recommendations for audiobooks because I had a couple of credits on Audible that I wanted to use up, and again, they recommended this book. So I think I'm going to be reading this with my dad, so I got us both a copy. I will probably borrow the audio version from the library to listen along as I read. But I'm super excited for this. That'll be a fun one to read, hopefully with my dad, and I hope he likes it. So, yay! Next up is Queenie by Candace Carty-Williams. This is another one that I just keep hearing good things about. It's on like every list out there of books you should read, so I decided to go ahead and grab it and give it a read. And again, same, I've heard nothing but good things about this one. Everybody keeps reading it and raving about it, and I really want to read it. And that is My Sister, the Serial Killer. This is by Oinkan Braithwaite. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it, but again, on every list, everybody's recommending it. I had to read it. Next up, I have a giant stack of romance. I don't know why, but I've been in the mood for romance. I don't read a ton of adult contemporary romance, but I've just been seeing so many recommendations lately that I'm just really interested in. So I just decided to go out and buy a bunch of them and just try to marathon them this month. So we'll see how many I can get to. But first up are two that I just randomly ended up picking up. The first one is At Sunrise by Nora Roberts. She's always just a fun go-to read for summer, and I actually think there's two separate novels in this one, so this could be fun. I also picked up Bad Boys Down Under by Nancy Warren. I don't know anything about this, but there's a little kangaroo on the cover, and the implication that these are several stories in this one as well. They all take place in Australia. Again, just sounds like a hoot, so why not? Next up are all recommendations that I've either seen on other YouTubers' channels, I've seen on advertisements, Goodreads, I've seen just all over the place. So I've gotten all of these based on other people's recommendations, based on adult romance. So first up, I got The Bromance Book Club by Lisa K. Adams. Looks really, really good, and I know the sequel to this one is out now. One that just came out that I'm interested in is Would Like to Meet. This is by Rachael Winters. This one seems really cute, about like a television program. This is probably the one I've heard the least about, but it sounded good to me, so I picked it up. Next, I got The Kiss Quotient. This is by Helen Huang. I have an idea for this one, so this one might not show up immediately, but I've got an idea. This particular book lit up a light bulb in my brain for a fun video to do later. But again, I've heard nothing but great things about this one, recommended over and over, so I picked that one up. I also got Beach Read by Emily Henry. I think this is the one that really set me off on like I want to get into the adult romance game this year. I want to do it. So I'm probably going to start my delve into romance with either this one or one other one. But so cute. This is a 2020 release, and I've literally heard nothing but good things. I'm really excited for it. This sounds right up my alley. If you are unaware, I mean, it's like a bookish romance. Both of the characters, I wouldn't say it doesn't sound like it's necessarily hate to love, but it's like kind of disinterest to love. Like they don't really like each other, but they're writers that used to know each other, and they're both kind of in a slump, so they end up deciding to switch genres for the summer, and it just sounds so adorable. So I don't know. We'll see. Next is You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogel. Again, this was on a bunch of lists, and I was kind of on a buying spree, so I decided just to throw it on top of the pile. I don't know much about this one other than it does have kind of like the same like adult contemporary romance setup as a lot of these. Also, we have Well Met by Jen DeLuca. I know the sequel to this is coming out later this year, and that it's set in a Renaissance festival, so that will be fun. I also have The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. I've seen this a lot of places. I know this one involves a girl who is a wedding planner, and her fiance dumps her the day of her wedding because basically something the groom's brother says to the groom makes the groom decide not to marry her anymore, and then the groom's brother and the bride, well, the would-be bride, end up having to work together later. That sounds very confusing, but it made a lot more sense in my head. But it sounds cute. I've heard really good things. Ready to read it. Another one that just came out that I'm super excited for is Real Men Knit. This is by Quanah Jackson. For first, this is an amazing cover. For second, just the idea of these boys inheriting this knitting shop and trying to keep it running just sounds like an awesome premise. So I'm super excited for this one. And last in the romance genre, I decided to pick up Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. I know the sequel to this just recently came out, so I'll be anticipating that one as well. But I've again heard nothing but good things. For some reason, like the title for this one I just didn't like it. I don't like the title for this one. And I kept resisting the recommendations on this purely based on the title, but eventually y'all beat me down with the amazing recommendations for this book, and I caved, and I bought it, and I'm gonna read it. I also have 3 kind of random books that I got all at once that for some reason I stacked together. The first is a nonfiction. It's called Don't Hate, Meditate, 5 Easy Practices to Get You Through the Hard Shit and Into the Good by Megan Moynihan. And I picked this up after an Instagram live session she did with the publisher. I just really liked a lot of things she had to say, and I wanted to read her book. Next, I have been seeing this new series popping up a lot, and I just really wanted to get my hands on it and see what it was about because it wasn't showing up in any libraries or anything, and now I see why. It's called Escape This Book. I got the Tombs of Egypt version. This is by Bill Doyle and illustrated by Sarah Sachs, and you, because you actually get to like solve the mystery and like draw things like in the book. It's kind of like a puzzle book. So of course the libraries are not going to have it, but it sounds so much fun. I'd really like to dig in and try it, and then I can recommend it to kids for them to purchase. Obviously, because I won't be able to get it for our library unless somehow we could laminate like every page of this book. But it sounded like so much fun. Like I said, I've been seeing these all over. I think there's like 3 editions. There's the Egypt one, I think there's the Titanic one, and I thought there was one other one. I will link it down below though so that you can go check it out, because you're probably going to run into the same scenario. If this sounds interesting, you're probably not going to be able to get it at your library, but you should be able to buy it. So I will link it down below for you to check out more in this series. But it just sounds like so much fun. It reminded me of this highlights case file thing I used to get when I was little, which I just found out at a library conference in the fall that they still make. And as an adult, I'm thinking about purchasing it. Don't judge me. It was so much fun. Basically, they sent you like this dossier every month, and there was always a book about a country and this like workbook, and you had to work out all these puzzles and clues to figure out whatever the mystery was. Like, I can't remember if it was a crime or what, but you had to figure out like who did it based on all these clues, putting together all of your work. And you always learned something as you went through, because like I said, it focused on like a different culture every time, and they were so much fun. Again, if I can find the link to that, I'll leave it down below. But oh my gosh, if you have kids, get these for your kids. I just lived for these packages to come, and this book reminded me of it, so I decided to go ahead and buy it because I'm an adult and I have my own money now. But I may also end up getting a subscription to that highlights mystery pack as well. So again, I'll leave it linked down below. Speaking of my childlike self, I also purchased a picture book. Yes, I buy picture books for myself. Again, don't judge me. This is by one of my absolute favorite children's authors, illustrators. This is Dan Santat. He's the illustrator in this case. He's working once again with Min Lee. They did another book last year about a boy and his grandparent who was, I think it was Vietnamese, and they just didn't really connect. They had the language barrier, etc., and they ended up connecting through drawing, and it was adorable. It was called Drawn Together, and it was one of our Buckeye Book Award options in the state of Ohio last year. Fantastic. So when I saw they teamed up again, I just went ahead and bought it because it was adorable, and I was lucky enough during quarantine to be able to listen to Dan Santat actually read this book out loud. He's amazing. But anyway, this one is called Lift, and it's about a little girl here who finds a magic elevator button, and she decides to hang it up in her room for reasons you'll see in the book, but it leads to a whole different world, and it's just amazing. The art is fantastic. The story is fantastic. Like I said, I had to have this for myself, but I'm definitely going to be purchasing this for our school library and reading it to the kids whenever we all get to be back in the same classroom together, because this book is so, so cute, and you can see the doorbell here on the back. It's adorable. So if you have kids, or if you just like children's books like I do, definitely check out Lift. Check out anything by Dan Santat. So fantastic. And again, Min Lee also paired with him for their book last year called Drawn Together. Next up are 2 books that I actually don't have finished copies of on my shelf. First is Sadie by Courtney Summers. I was lucky enough to get an advanced copy of this one, but my copy doesn't have this gorgeous cover on it, and it wasn't finalized, so I decided when I saw it to go ahead and grab it and have a finalized copy on my shelf, because loved this book. And yeah, it was fantastic. So now I have a finished copy. The next one is Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. I absolutely love this book. I listened to it as an audio, and I read it physically from my library, but I didn't have a copy on my shelves, so I really wanted to have one so I could lend out, because I recommend this to a lot of people often, actually. And there is a YA middle grade adaptation out as well that I currently have out from the library, and I would like to compare them, see how different they are. But I'm super excited to have this book. I love it. Super excited to have this book on my shelf to lend out to people who would like to give it a read. And lastly, I know, I cannot believe there's even more books, but lastly, I decided to get a few books that I was highly anticipating for this year, so let's jump in. First up, I picked up The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I mean, I feel like everybody on BookTube wouldn't pick this book up. You can't help it. I'm not ready to read it yet, but I wanted to have it on my shelf for when I'm ready. I'm just not ready to do it yet. So it's here, it's ready for me to read. Next up is one that I pre-ordered, and I very accurately predicted that I would not read it in the month it came out, and that is Aurora Burning by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Why, you say? Because reading has been just insane in 2020, but this is one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and I'm super glad to have it in my hands finally and ready and waiting for me when I'm ready to dive in. I really do think I want to revisit book 1 before I get into book 2, so that's mostly why I haven't gotten to it yet. But it's gonna happen because I'm super excited for it, and now I own it, so I'm ready. And last but not least is our next book club pick, and that is Home Before Dark by Riley Sagar. I'm so excited. I've noticed that I always say Sagar, like there's another A in there, and there's not. So when you hear me say that, just smile and nod, because I'm trying to break that habit, but it's not going very well. I have no idea why I want to add another A to his name. I apologize, because I have another A in my name. I spell it Rachael when most people don't put that second A in there. So maybe I'm just trying to give him the benefit of the double A like I have in my name. But regardless, Home Before Dark, I'm super excited for this one. I love the lime green, but I do not think that this cover compares it all to Home Before Dark. That cover was beautiful. So we'll have to see. I do have a Book of the Month edition. Maybe that's part of the problem. But anyway, Home Before Dark, super excited. It looks like it's going to be just really thrilling and fun, and I hope it's going to be a really good pick for our book club. There you have, all of the books that I bought since the last book haul that I did. Oh my gosh, I bought so many books. So let me know down below any of these that you highly recommend that I push up to the top of the list. Let me know which books you bought this month. Let's talk books down in the comments, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again in another video soon. Bye for now.